1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the Mental Reps podcast, featuring your host, Brian Wright.
Dude, you are one of the very lucky few to have actually gotten your stamp of approval from Mitzi Shore. Legendary. Anybody who doesn't know her, go look her up. She was the gatekeeper.
Our guest this episode is comedian, actor, and director Ahmed Ahmed.
You know, she was the godmother of stand-up comedy in most people's eyes. She created the Comedy Store, and she was responsible for creating platforms for, name it, Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, Sam Kinison, Robin Williams, Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Whoopi Goldberg. But she was always big on like ethnic voices and like diversity and gender.
Yeah, I'm a diverse act.
You're very fun.
Yeah.
This week's episode is sponsored by The Field Irish Pub and Eatery, a little piece of island in South Florida, as well as Elite Sanitizing Services, keeping South Florida clean and in business.
She kind of just godmothered me. She was essentially the one who created the Axis of Evil comedy tour. She was the sort of brainchild of it. Originally, it was called the Arabian Nights. Which is
Arabian Nights got a ring to it.
Now fade out that fresh-ass beat, and let's get this bitch on the road.
What is up, Mental Reps fam? Brian Wright. I hope you're happy and healthy. Not watching too much news. I can't handle it. Enough. Tucker, Don. I want to stay informed. All that good stuff. But shit. All day, every day. Can't do it. So thanks for taking a break from all the gloom and doom and hanging out with us. I know you guys got a lot of options. So cannot thank you enough for listening, supporting the podcast, following us on all the social medias, watching all the streaming platforms. Really cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I know it seems silly, but like that literally, it's the currency by which we live. So it makes a huge difference. Really good looking out. And please keep it up. You can also email the show at mentalreps@gmail.com. So thank you. Cannot overstate that, really. I met my guest today about a month ago, the night of my first stand-up set, when I did a guest spot for Steve Byrne. And this man featured for him ended up being a super nice guy, made me feel welcome. We played some Gallica and had a beer, took a shot or two, talked some shit, told some lies. Good dude. And so I asked him if he wanted to come on today. He's an Egyptian-born stand-up comedian, actor, director of an award-winning documentary called Just Like Us, a celebration of culture and comedy. He appeared on just about every damn TV network imaginable. Getting asked about that. Really great flick. You might have seen him in other movies like Swingers, Vince Vaughn's Wild West comedy show, Iron Man, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, TV shows like Roseanne, Sullivan and Sons with his buddy Steve, or MTV's Punk'd, just to name a few. He's famous for the Axis of Evil comedy tour as well. We got into that. And he's even given a TED Talk, for God's sakes. A good one, too. And he's got a new podcast called Hollywood Tales. And he's touring the country right now, performing stand-up with his buddy Steve Byrne. Follow him at Ahmed Comedy and check out more of his comedy at ahmedahmed.com. But first, don't you know, I want to tell you about our sponsors, South Florida's authentic Irish pub and eatery, The Field. My people, come out, have a happy out. You might get a bit flustered, but what of it? It's like an Irish Cheers, only better because like the people are really nice who work there, and the booze and food are really great, and they have live music, etc., etc. It really is like a little piece of Ireland right here in South Florida. Full bars, which means all the Jameson, Guinness, Irish car bombs your little heart can desire. Plus, of course, authentic Irish American cuisine, shepherd's pie, Irish stew, the corned beef, the cabbage. But they also have steaks, chops, fresh seafood, so you got something for the whole fam. And again, maybe my favorite part, live music 5 nights a week with a real Irish music Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. They are so extremely safe, too. I got to give it up to them with this whole pandy thing and the guidelines. They really live up to that and then some. They don't cut any corners. They work super hard to bring you the best safe experience possible. So please go stop by The Field and tell them we sent you. It's 3281 Griffin Road in Fort Lauderdale. 954-964-5979 is their number. And if you aren't feeling up to going out yet, but you still want that authentic Irish experience, just go to thefieldfl.com, enter code word REPS20 for 20% off your entire online order. They got the mason jars and growlers as well, so you can drive off with some booze, which again, super cool and acceptable nowadays. Just wait until you get home to pop it open. So then they'll even bring it out to the car for you if you like. So the Field, honestly, Irish capital of South Florida, period. So don't sleep. Go to thefieldfl.com, enter code word REPS20 for 20% off your entire order. Also, here's another great company run by amazing people. If you're looking for local sanitizing services here in South Florida, call ESS, Elite Sanitizing Services. They're state licensed and insured, offering local sanitizing services, which kill 99.9% of all the bacteria and viruses, including COVID-19. They actually provided their services to the Field. Again, super safe and clean. If you need to keep your property, employees, customers safe and virus-free, let them help keep you in business, keep your employees working. They offer services for schools, churches, medical facilities, offices, aircrafts, yachts, public transportation, restaurants, gyms, homes, vehicles, and a lot more. It's kind of like you're running them through a big Purell machine. And now they're offering free sanitizing to vehicles of all first responders and medical professionals, which I just think is like a really cool thing for them to do. So please give them a call, 1-800-763-4299. Visit them at elite-sanitize.com or email them at info@elite-sanitize.com. Elite Sanitizing Services, keeping South Florida safe and in business. I cannot tell you how much I really appreciate these sponsors who enabled me to get some new equipment, level things up around here. I cannot wait until we can start doing live shows again, so I can really let this new gear stretch its legs a little bit. But either way, huge thank you to them for helping us level up our game around here. I cannot wait to see where this thing goes. I think you guys are really going to dig some of the stuff I have planned for the very near future. All right, now it's time for the show. I'll quit my yammering. Without further ado, please welcome the very funny and smooth Ahmed Ahmed. Welcome to Mental Reps Podcast. I'm Brian Wright. Today, my guest is a hilarious stand-up comic, actor, director. He's also very kind and generous to people who just perform stand-up for the first time. It's Ahmed Ahmed. What's up, brother?
Hey, pal. Thanks for making time. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties and all that.
No worries, man. That's mostly my bad. I got this new equipment, and I'm trying to iron it all out, so I appreciate you being patient with me.
Yeah, it looks fancy.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, trying to level up, you know. But first and last time we saw each other about a month ago when you were performing at Miami Improv with Steve Byrne and headlining, and he kind of called my bluff when I was like, yeah, I wanted to do some stand-up for the first time, and I was putting on these stand-up shows before the pandy started, and I was going to go up and do my first set before, and that didn't work out. So he's like, well, you're just going to have to open up for me this weekend. And I was like, real, dude? He's like, yeah, man, just come on up and tell me you're going to do a guest spot. So you guys were very, very cool to me. I appreciate that. You were like very generous telling me the positives when there was definitely plenty of negatives to pull from, but you were really cool, man. I appreciate that.
Well, to just kind of coattail what you said about Steve, he's probably one of the most generous people, but comedians I've ever encountered and befriended. So that was very kind of him to include you. He's very inclusive, and he likes to help people out because you never know, man. Like, and not that he looks for it. He's not like, oh, I'm going to help this guy because he might be famous one day. I think he just likes to pay it forward. So we kind of come from that same school. But look, for your first time on stage, and I caught a few minutes of your set, people don't realize stand-up comedy is a tough fucking sport. Like nobody can teach you how to be funny. Nobody can tell you what to write, what to say, what to expect. You just got to go up there and start chopping wood. And that's what you did that night. You chopped wood. And so, kudos to you for that. And it's not like you had a bad set. You had some laughs. It's just like, you also went up there with your notes and you kind of got called off guard, by Steve. So, to your credit, man, I think you did a fantastic job, and that was your first. You popped your cherry. Hey, you popped this cherry.
Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, man? Yeah, no, it was fun, man.
Here's $100. Here's $100. Don't ever don't snitch on nobody anymore.
Right. I know, man. No, it was definitely an experience, dude. You guys were really cool about it, and I appreciate that. He was like, he seems like a very generous guy, and it's not like disingenuous, like he said, like, oh, just in case. Like, he just seems like trying to pay it forward. Nice dude. And you as well, man.
Always.
Like, you were when I got into the what was it, the green room, and we're just playing Galaga and shit and having some shots
Yeah.
beforehand. That helped me relax a little bit, you know, just like playing some Galaga and chilling. Dude, I gotta say, man, I heard you just turned 50. You're looking pretty good for 50, man. Making it look good.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
I mean, I feel 50.
Do you?
Physically, I feel 50, but mentally and spiritually, I feel like I'm still 21. So
yeah, no, man, you're looking good. Like my buddy Lewis is another one of you guys. He's like pushing 50, and the guy looks like he's younger than me. I'm 34. I'm like, this son of a bitch, this motherfucker.
Well, I'm not married and I don't have kids. So
This
I think
is
that
very
probably
true. This is a very good
that
point.
adds a little bit. Yeah, that helps a little bit.
For sure. How you been holding up during the Rona real quick? Because I know we only got a little bit of time, but how's the family? Everybody's healthy?
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. Thank God everybody's good. Just checking in with my parents every other day. I have a big family. I have 4 sisters and a brother. So we're all kind of spider webbed out doing our own thing. But yeah, California just went back on lockdown again, I think yesterday. So this whole COVID thing is putting a big, monkey wrench in everybody's plans, especially the live entertainment industry, specifically comedians. So, we're all trying to pivot. That should be the key, like, hashtag for 2020, hashtag pivot.
I know, man.
Because it's very true. Like, when basketball players, the coach always says, when you come down court and you got your defender in front of you, you need to pivot and go. It's just like, you kind of have to think of what's going on right now like a sport. Like, we just literally have to pivot and mentally, spiritually shift frequency, direction, focus, discipline yourself and try to come up with new ideas and new innovative ways to, earn income. Like, how long are we going to live on stimulus and unemployment and all that, So I think the universe is kind of testing us to see, who's gonna come out alive, who's gonna really make a concerted effort to create something out of the box. And especially in our industry, like, we're not essential workers, right? Mm. So, I don't have the luxury of, working in healthcare or real estate. A couple of those industries stayed afloat, thankfully, but everyone else got hit really bad, and it's unfortunate.
I know, man. Well, like you said, I hope people come out of this like better versions of themselves, like a little more clear-headed and got a little more focused on what they want to do with their lives, at least hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. Or people are going to come out of this thing super hungover because a lot of drinking going on during COVID.
Dude, that is for real, dude. No joke about that. I know, man. I'm having to keep an eye on that. Let's just put it that way. I don't think I have any sort of drinking problem, but once you start drinking enough, you can form a drinking problem, even if you don't have one. You still the sugars, the alcohol, all that shit. You just
sure.
So I'm going to keep an eye on that a little bit. But dude, you are one of the very lucky few to have actually gotten your stamp of approval from Mitzi Shore. And I'm a big comedy fan, Comedy Store, legendary. Anybody who doesn't know her, go look her up. She was the gatekeeper. So I wanted to know a little bit more about your experience at the Comedy Store and Mitzi Shore, who I just think is like an incredible comedy character.
Mitzi Shore, she was the godmother of stand-up comedy in most people's eyes. She's the mother of Pauly Shore, if you're familiar with him. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Grinded.
She built the Comedy Store, not built it, but she created the Comedy Store in, I think it was like the late 70s, early 80s. And she was responsible for creating platforms for, name it, Richard Pryor, Jim Carrey, Sam Kinison, Robin Williams, Jay Leno, David Letterman, Whoopi Goldberg, Sandra Bernhard, Paul Rodriguez. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just murderer's row. And, but she was always big on like ethnic voices and like, the voices of like diversity and gender. And so
I'm a diverse act.
Yeah, you're really fun.
Yeah.
She kind of just godmothered me. She was basically essentially the one who indirectly created the Axis of Evil comedy tour, which was a groundbreaking comedy tour we did around the Middle East. And we were on the first Middle Eastern comedy stand-up special on Comedy Central ever. So that was like kind of groundbreaking in that sense.
I saw you guys did a bit of a reunion.
History in the making, if you will. And we did like a reunion, like Zoom call or whatever, like a virtual thing. But we don't really get along. Like none of us really like each other. I'll just be honest. Like they don't like me. I don't really like
kudos
them,
for being honest, dude. I like that, man.
I mean, I don't wish them, I don't wish them any ill will, you know,
I get it.
But the fact of the matter is Axis of Evil had great potential to go on, and, you know, we could have probably sold out big theaters, you know, maybe even arenas if we just kept on monetizing it, but egos got in the way, and it's like a band, you know, like who's the funniest, who's the leader of the group. And for me, it wasn't about that, but unfortunately, some of the other guys in the group felt that way. So that's when I backed out. I pivoted, shifted into like just like
word of the day, pivot.
Yeah, pivot. Just got into other stuff and rebranded. But Mitzi Shore, to go back to her, she was the sort of brainchild of it. Originally, it was called the Arabian Nights. That's what she called us.
Which is Arabian Nights. It's got a ring to it.
Well, it's funny because we had to change the. We didn't have to change the name. We chose to change the name because Maz Jobrani, who was in the group, is Iranian.
Okay.
And he was getting a lot of complaints from the Iranian community. We're not Arabs. We're Persian. We had shit like that. So he's like, I'm getting complaints from Iranians because I'm not Arab and I'm in the group. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Let's change the name.
Yeah.
So right around then is when President Bush had coined the phrase Axis of Evil. And we just stole it and put comedy to an end. And it ended up just being a good play on words. And we had some good success for a minute, you know, and then what does success bring? Greed, selfishness, narcissism, you know, the list goes on and on. So comedy, unfortunately, as you know, isn't a group sport. It's not a team sport. It's like swimming or wrestling or golf, boxing. It's just you against the world. So
when you start adding the team element to that, it gets a little tricky.
I've always been inclusive like that. I've been a little bit of like a bigger picture guy in that sense, but most comedians don't wear a producer hat. They just want to be funny and do their thing on stage, which is fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, it's called show business. It's not called show friends.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
So if you don't have a business hat on, then, you know, you're most likely going to lose in the industry.
I know that when...
And I've lost in the industry before, you know, it's no secret.
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, listen, man, like you said, it's a business. Sometimes you'd like to think that... I remember my first day of school when I was going for broadcasting, they were like, listen, we don't like to go on the air and talk about whatever the hell we want, but the bottom line is at the end of the day, we're here to sell sugar and plastic.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what the deal is. And we get to go and do what we do because these people pay us, you know, in order to like pump their shit out. And I was like, yeah, it's important to kind of keep that perspective. Obviously, it doesn't take away, you know, you can still be creative. It's not like, oh, it takes away all the majesty and the wonder. It's it's still all there. It's just you got to try and be smart about it and treat it like a business, like you said.
I think Elvis Presley said it best. Some journalist had asked him, you know, you have all this great, you know, this platform to speak to the public and get political and all that. He said, hey, man, I'm just an entertainer. Yeah. I'm just here to entertain. Like I'm not. If I wanted to run for politics, I would. You know.
What Michael Jordan said. Hey, Republicans buy sneakers too.
True that.
So I know that when you were doing your stand-up, when we were there in Miami Improv, you played a video of a 911 call that happened last year, and I know that it was a big deal. So you don't have to go through the whole thing again, but. I just want to let people know I'm going to put the link in the description and they got to go check it out. So basically, if you want to give a very brief synopsis so we can tell people to go and check it out because I'm posting the link.
Yeah, sure. Just in a nutshell, I was performing at Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, Florida. last May 12th. I think it was Mother's Day, in fact. And I do a joke that I've done like all over the world, probably 1,000 times. And you heard it. I say, hey, any Middle Eastern people in the audience? And typically a few people clap. And I go, that's great. There's a small group of us. But hey, it only takes one of us.
Yeah.
And then that gets like an awkward laugh. And I say, but seriously, lock the doors. And that gets an awkward laugh. Well, some guy in the audience thought that I was like for real. And he called 911 on me. And 2 cops showed up. But here's the score. He came to the show on Saturday night and he called 911 the next day. So he slept on the emergency, basically.
Yeah.
And then 2 cops, right. Like he thought about it. He probably woke up in the morning, was pissed off, kicked his dog, yelled at his wife. I don't know. So then 2 cops showed up, a black cop and a Mexican cop, which I thought was funny. They sent 2 ethnic cops down for this dispatch. And they were like embarrassed and ashamed to be there, kind of. They were like, hey, this is the first time for us. I was like, yeah, me too. And then they started interviewing me, and then I just recorded them. And then I posted it on Twitter that night. It went viral the next day. And all the press picked it up. And
like every news outlet on the planet picked that shit up, man. I remember talking about it. I was on the air down here in South Florida, just on the radio, and I remember talking about it. For real. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because the headline was Florida man calls, cops on Muslim comic. It's always like a Florida man.
Of course. Dude.
So it was interesting. We actually found out who the guy was because he gave himself up in the call. Mm-hmm. He straight up said in the 911 call, I come here all the time. I get free tickets. I'm with my wife. So we did this like cross-check database of like who was there on a Saturday with their wives who got free tickets. Yeah. We found out who it was. And so I actually friended him on Facebook. And
that's great.
He sent me a message. How do we know each other? I'm like, you know how the fuck we know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, what's funny is like this guy is a comedy fan. He says that he's at these comedy shows all the time, and to not get it is just kind of what blows my mind. Anyway, so also really quick, I know like you just turned 50. You know a lot of people. You got some crazy, I'm sure, Hollywood stories. You're friends with Vince Vaughn's and Tom Morello, who, dude, I didn't know you were buds with Tom Morello. It's so funny. Growing up, Tom Morello was like my Jimmy Page. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he was the dude who was still experimenting and putting new shit out there on the guitar. And Vince Vaughn, obviously, he was kind of like, dude, I don't know what he was. He was like my Chevy Chase or something like that, Like, yeah. and both those guys. So you keep good company. And I know, are you okay for like another couple minutes, or you got to go right? How are you doing?
Can you hold on one sec?
Sure, go check on your friend.
I have a very patient friend. She's like, go ahead, do your thing. It's all good. We're going to be fine. I'm just clocking you. So tell your friend to wrap it up.
Thank you, friend. Tell your friend I said thank you.
He says thank you, my friend. You want to come say hi? Come say hi.
Yeah.
Come say hi. Come show your pretty face. She's very beautiful, by the way.
Tell her that she can say hi. She's welcome to pop on if she'd like.
She's Lebanese. I thought you were Lebanese. Oh, she's Palestinian. So there's that. We got some conflict in the room.
Well, one thing I just want to touch on really quick, of course, is I want anybody who's listening to go check out your documentary called Just Like Us, a celebration of culture and comedy. And it was accepted in the Tribeca Film Festival. Great flick. And you also have the podcast out, like a new podcast, Hollywood Tales, right?
Yeah, well, just to go back really quick, you were talking about, Morello and Vaughn and those guys.
Oh, yeah.
and Hollywood Tales, which is the podcast. So we all met like when Tom was he was just coming up with Rage. Vince wasn't even famous at the time. So we were just like these young punks running around Hollywood, drinking and starting fights and being stupid. Yeah. But, Vince went on to become a really well-known actor, and Tom went on to become a very prolific musician. A lot of people reference his music. They copy and paste his music. I've seen like 9-year-old kids and like marching bands doing Killing in the Name of and shit like that. Oh. But Tom's like he's much more than a musician. He's a, political activist, Harvard grad, father, husband. He's got a lot of moving parts. And Vince the same, Vince has his thing. Just like us, to kind of coattail what you were saying, it's actually on YouTube for free if anybody wants to watch it.
Very cool. Yeah.
If you go to Cross Cultural Productions on YouTube, there are two versions.
Regular version, the kids version too, right?
We just bleeped out all the F-bombs basically, so we called it the educational version because there's a couple fucks going. I can say fuck on this, right?
Of course.
Podcast. But yeah, if your kids want to watch this movie, it's entertaining, it's educational, it's cultural, it's enlightening. My dad is in it. A lot of famous comics are in it. Sebastian Maniscalco, Whitney Cummings, Tom Papa, Tommy Davidson, Angelo Sarukis, Omi Jalili, Maz Jobrani's in it. So it's got this sort of cool all-star cast of people that weren't famous 10 years ago and now they are. So it's kind of cool to see the evolution of that.
That's cool, man. Like, isn't that feel good to see like your friends coming up and everybody kind of coming up?
No, we're not friends. I don't talk to any of those people anymore. But yeah, it was cool to actually. I'm friends with Omi Jalili, but I literally don't talk to any of those people in my movie at all. Angela Sarukis, I do. Angela's one of my best friends, and Tom Papa and I are cool, but I don't root to Whitney, Oz, Sebastian. The problem, again, going back to stand-up comics, is you get a little bit of fame, and then you just become this narcissistic, and you feel, most comics have this gene in them that feels like people are, want stuff from them. It's like, I don't want shit from you. I don't want your money. I don't want your fame. I don't want a fucking free meal. I was just texting you or calling you to see if you want to go grab lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Sebastian, nice guy. He was a waiter at the Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
And Vince Vaughn literally picked him up from the gutter and put him on his tour. Good for him. He worked hard for it. But don't ghost me. Don't big time me, bro. And so that's my problem with most comics, is they have that muscle in their brain. But the funny thing is like, whoever they sort of disembarked from for a while, if that person, because you never know in our business, right? That person might come back and pass them up and be uber successful 5-10 years down the road. They're like, oh yeah, we used to be cool. And then they act like nothing ever happened. It's like, you ghosted me for 10 years. Why would I? So that's kind of how I look at it. No, it's like, I'm not even upset about it. I'm just saying, people
I get it. It's the nature of the business.
For people that are listening, if you want to get into stand-up comedy, know that that's most likely what will happen in our culture, in our community.
Which is a real bummer, man. You'd like to think that that's not necessary. I kind of, in the last podcast, in the opening, went over a little bit about that, about how, like, the psychology of what goes into that. I think it's interesting and unfortunate, man. But like you said, something I always appreciated and I thought was wise about people like Bill Burr. He's like, I'm always nice to the new guys because I'm going to be the granddad in their show or whatever the fuck when they end up blowing up,
Well, that's why Bill Burr. Well, if you look at Bill Burr, if you look at Dave Chappelle, if you look at guys like that, they don't behave that way. Yeah. They just don't. That's why they're fucking superstars.
All right. So, dude, I know. Well, what I wanted to bring up, normally I save this for the very, very last thing I do, but there's a quote, and I know, ironically enough, it's a scripture from the Bible, but I thought about, when I was thinking about you, I thought about this scripture because I actually grew up religious back in the day. And I thought about it. It says, it's from Proverbs 22:29. Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. And it's something I always think about when I think of people who, just as a byproduct of themselves, their works, they are naturally drawn to other great people. So I figured that, I would at least let you know that I thought that would maybe be applicable to you because there's a reason why you got a seat at the cool kids table, man. Obviously, you're doing something right.
I appreciate that. And it's not something that I think I think everybody has their sort of sparkle or gift that they're given. And then you make what you get lemons and make lemonade, right? So I don't know what God gave me, oranges.
Right,
I just think that, no, it's whatever you make of it. But no, I appreciate you saying that. I definitely I've sat with the best of them and I've sat with the worst of them. And I performed in front of the same. So that's the cool thing about our industry. It's really inconsistent. So you have to be consistent in an inconsistent, show business platform and take the lows with the highs. I've performed, like you just mentioned, I performed in front of kings and queens, and I've performed in front of, people with no teeth. So it's like, you take the good with the bad, man. And then everything in between,
Yeah, we got to share this planet with some kooky people, man, of all kinds. So why not fuck around and have a good time? It would be really, really boring if everybody was exactly the same, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
All right, here's the mental reps question here. If you could meet anyone current or historical and spend the day picking their brain, who would it be?
Just one person?
Mm-hmm.
Historical or current? Probably Jesus. I just want to know what the fuck happened.
Right.
Like, tell me. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. A lot of stories, a lot of Old Testament, New Testament. A lot of people trying to bite his material. Let's hear what the Son of God has to say.
I like that. If you had one round trip ticket in a time machine, when and where would you go?
Round trip ticket in a time machine. How long do I get to stay?
That's up to you. You get to stay or as long as you want.
I would probably go somewhere I have not been before. So maybe like, well, you say time machine, so I can go back in time, right?
Fuck yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to go back in time to Damascus, Syria. The crossroads of like where everybody was trading and, kind of reproducing, and there was a lot of, religious stuff happening at that time. I don't, whatever biblical year that was, but probably then to see like the crossroads of like, what do they call that? The Levant? It's like Syria, Lebanon, Palestine. Yeah, I know. I said Palestine. She's like, Palestine.
Palestine.
We exist. Did I mention she's Palestinian?
Hey, do you remember my last joke on my set? The struggle? Oh, you probably didn't. I was like, my dick is Palestine and my balls are Israel. It's like, when is it going to end?
They're always fighting. When's it going to end? Yeah, probably that would be interesting, I think, just to kind of see what was going on back then, again, because so many different cultures and races were, trading and sort of crossbreeding back then. So just be cool to witness, I think.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Do I believe in ghosts? Yes.
Okay. All right.
Spirits, outer being, whatever you want to call them.
Multi-dimensional, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. What's your spirit animal? People either love or hate this question.
A spirit animal? Well, it's funny because my Chinese astrology sign, they use animals. Mine's the dog.
Oh, okay.
So supposedly I'm the year of the dog. I found that out when I was living in Asia. Chinese woman said, she said, when is your birthday? I said, June 27th. She said, you're the year of the dog. I said, what does that mean? She said, bad luck. I was like, huh? She said, you need to clean up your bad luck this year. I said, oh, what's your sign? She said, I'm the year of the pig. I said, what does that mean? She said, good luck. I said, not if you're bacon. But spirit animal, probably. That's an interesting question because I feel like I have a lot of different like animalistic things about me. Bird, snake, bear, panther. I have a lot of different. I guess it depends on my mood and how many tequila shots I've had.
You're a chameleon.
Yeah, I'm a chameleon. There you go.
There you go. All right. So you moved to Hollywood when you were 19. You've been in comedy 31 years now. What's some wisdom you could share with anyone who's listening, trying to pursue their dreams working in comedy?
The thing with stand-up comedy is if you're going to pursue it, you really have to be married to the industry. I've seen a few comics get away with like being married and have kids and balance the two. That I think comes maybe a little later in your life and career. But when you're first starting out, you really kind of have to sacrifice everything. It's an all or none kind of industry. And if you want to go in half-assed, then you probably shouldn't.
Great advice. Very, very good advice. All right.
Yeah, and then always write. Get up on. Lately you can't, but try to get up on stage as much as you can. Try to write as much as you can. Try to fail as much as you can.
Yes.
And fail in a safe place. Fail. Go to the open mics. Go to the coffee houses. Do it in front of 10 people. Try the jokes on your friends first. Don't try new jokes in big showrooms and people that paid $50 a ticket and they're not there to watch that. They're there to watch the A-list comic with the A-list material. But it's a craft. It's a process. And then you add on the business factor later. But create the show first, and then tack on the business later.
I love it, dude. That's a great answer. Hey, man, I appreciate you again coming on, making some time. I know it took a little while for us to get
it's all
scheduled,
good, man.
But we'll definitely plan a part 2. And again, I appreciate you, man. You were very kind and generous, and wishing you nothing but the best as you're out there. If anybody wants to go and find him, at Ahmed Comedy on the social medias, AhmedAhmed.com. And he's got some dates here out there performing with Steve Byrne. So if you guys want to find him, go and check him out. Go Google the guy. Go out and support this man. He's a good dude. Ahmed, I appreciate you again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Brian, you're the best, man. Thanks for making the time for me.